are you today? Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning is the beautiful statement. And why do I always open up these calls that way? Well, again, because it's a beautiful reminder of the choice that we get to make. Remember, we always have a choice. You always have a choice, the same way that I always have a choice. And what is that choice? The choice to choose our thoughts. Remember, that's your greatest power, your agency, your ability to act or be acted upon. See, right here in this beautiful call in Master Your Mind, this is the realm of the responders, not the reactors, the responders. Remember, that's the battle that's going on today. It's not about good versus evil. It's about those who react, who have closed minds, versus those who respond, which are the people who have open minds. And you are amongst those if you're here, if you've been going into this. And by the way, hasn't it been amazing in terms of how you've been feeling since you've been responding more? You're no longer a slave to the tyranny of second causes. You're able to maneuver through your life because of this use of what's been shared with you. It's such a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And I can tell you, it's something that the world needs to see and experience. Just think about the time when you first became aware of this and was introduced into this, and how when you started to think this way, things started to change in your life. You started to feel differently. Well, this is something, again, that we want you to experience in you so that you can pass it and pay it forward to somebody else and help them too as well. But again, here, the emphasis is going to be heavily on use. Remember, it's one thing to know about this. It's a completely different thing to understand it. And remember, the only way you understand something is through the experience. It's because of its use practically in your life. And that right there is where the gem is. You know, I was browsing through, again, my favorite book before going through this call, and I ran into this beautiful paragraph. And this is in the chapter, The Master of Your Fate. Again, this is Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier. And listen to this paragraph, because again, this has to do with how you think. Remember, you become how you're thinking most of the time, not what you're thinking about most of the time, how you're thinking, which is what you believe, the patterns within you. And here's what he says. Now, remember, apply this to you. There is no philosophy by which a man can do a thing which he thinks he can't. The reason why millions of men, women are plodding along in mediocrity today, many of them barely making a living, when they have the ability to do something infinitely bigger, is because they lack confidence in themselves. Think about that. They lack confidence in themselves. They're what's called shy, when really they're really not shy. No one's really shy. They've been conditioned to be shy and care about what other people think. Remember, what people think about you is none of your business. The only opinion of you that matters is yours. But now let's go back to this again. He says many people are living in mediocrity today, barely making it happen because they lack confidence in themselves. They don't believe they can do a bigger thing that would lift them out of their rut of mediocrity and poverty. They are not winners. Listen to this, mentally. Ooh, that's so good. They are not winners mentally. Now, this doesn't mean that they're losers. It just means that there's a loser mentality. Remember, when you fail, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you failed. Completely different. Now, the way always opens up for the determined soul, the man, the woman of faith and courage. And then this is where he gives the beautiful truth bomb. It is the victorious mental attitude, the consciousness of power, the sense of mastership that does the big things in this world. If you have it, this attitude. If you don't have it, if you lack self-confidence, begin now to cultivate it. Boom, there you go. Begin now to cultivate confidence. And what is the only way that you can cultivate confidence in your life? And well, that's to have courage and to step into the unknown. Remember, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. See, that's what you've got to do. And by that experience, or should I say through that experience, that's when you gain confidence. Think about when you learned how to walk. In the beginning, think of yourself as a little toddler. It was scary. You didn't want to do it. But then, okay, you held on to something, and the next thing you know is, ooh. And then you moved forward a little bit and fell. You walked and fell. You walked and fell till eventually, ooh, you started to walk. You gained confidence through the experience. Now, you catch that. That's a beautiful, simple analogy. And you can do that for you when it comes to, for instance, this beautiful goal of yours. If you lack the confidence now to go after this, to make this a living reality in your life, you know what? Just take the courage, take the first step, and then take the next one, then take the next one. From there, that confidence will be built. Then eventually it will take shape in your outer world. See, feel it. Remember what I said about the goal cards? The goal cards are wonderful. They're amazing, but only if you feel them. You don't manifest what you write on the goal card. You don't manifest what's on the vision board. You don't manifest even affirmations. What you manifest is how you feel about them. And that's what we're wanting to embed within you psychologically. Now, where we are, what we've been studying is this beautiful gem. Again, if you don't have a copy of this book, make sure you do get a copy of this book. If you want to read along word for word with us from this book, then get this exact copy with this cover. And then from there, underline it, highlight it, take notes, and most importantly, apply it in your life. Again, the example that I share with you, well, he says here, think big ideas, dream big. We literally mean to do that. It's not something, oh, that's really nice. No, literally do that. That's the doing. And then what does he say here also as well, which Robert Collier says it, so does Neville Goddard, Genevieve Behrend, Florence Scovel Shinn, say, hold the image on the screen of your mind. That is something literally to do, to hold it on the screen of your mind. See, that is what's called application, baby. Apply it in your life. All right, so let's go to where we are in this beautiful gem, shall we? And let's use this. Now, we talked about this in the last session, and we're going to talk about it again because it's really important. It's number 26. It's on page 352. And what does it say here? It says, as long as people regard the cosmic power as a let me rephrase this. Let me reread this again. As long as the people regard the cosmic power as a power non-human and alien to humanity, so long will it be comparatively easy for a supposed privileged class to rule by divine right in spite of every protest of social sentiment. So in other words, as long as an individual continually sees, oh, privilege, oh, you have this benefit, all that kind of stuff, that person will always be a slave to the very class that they're pointing out. See, it's those very people who don't understand that all the power is inside. Now, when you think about what he's talking about here, when somebody sees us a supposed privileged class, you got to understand that that is an assumption. That is a belief in an individual. And remember, we never go further than what we believe to be true. No one ever does. What you believe determines what you do, what you don't do. It determines the very scope of your life. It is done unto you as you believe is a principle that's immovable and unchangeable. There's another beautiful statement that ties to that as well. Ask believing and you shall receive. See, notice how belief is there. And that's something that you've got to embed within you in order to make a change. The real interest of humanity is therefore to exalt, emancipate, and recognize the divinity in the human spirit. See, that's where the power lies. And that's how everybody should think. But unfortunately, as we see with what's happening broadly in the paradigm of the world, is there's a huge element of reacting that's happening, which is because of closed mind, versus responders. Remember, that's where the real battle is. The battle is not this good versus evil or any of this stuff that's being told to you by the news or anything like that. The real issue is between those who have closed minds versus those who have open minds. Reaction, respond. Bob said this so beautifully. He said that is what is the difference between those who are really successful versus those who don't, for those who feel really beautiful and peaceful inside versus those who live in turmoil, in negativity. Remember, all negativity is subconscious. It's something that happens, that comes into one's life, not because of wanting to be that way, but because there's a pattern inside. Therefore, it's a reaction. It's not a response. Now, before we go further, I want to emphasize that, remember that what we're sharing with you has everything to do with you delivering different outcomes of your life. You want to earn more money, change your lifestyle, change all that. You've got to change how you think. You've got to keep your mind open, and you've got to reevaluate so that your belief shifts, so that your results change. Now, for those of you who are watching this live stream, and if you're connecting with this, and you would love to hear more about this, then go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. It's at the bottom of the webpage. Click on it, register.